Hello, class. Going to try this again. You know me and technology, but basically, we know from so far in our studies of criminal investigation and the criminal justice system that the system is not stagnant. It's constantly changing. Whether it is with new technologies and that we're going to look at in some of our cases, or new laws being passed, or criminal justice reforms, as we've seen in our own state over the last 10 years or so, had great impact on the system. Another thing that we're going to look at that always keeps it changing is the appeals that occur, both on state and federal level. And we just saw with the Etan Patz case, first of all, it was a very, very long missing person / homicide investigations. And we know that there was no statute of limitations on homicide. So, he continued to work the case, and then finally they got individuals to steer the investigation towards Pedro Hernandez, who had made sort of confessed to his congregation, or the religious group that he belonged to. And the detectives went out there, and as I said, I think they did a very good job in gaining his confidence and doing a real good interrogation and getting him to confess, not once but several times. But the legal system, interprets various factors of a trial, factors of evidence, factors of police procedures, always in these appeals. So in 2015, they had the mistrial, due to the one holdout, and a lot was written about how it, the film we're going to see on Wednesday, 12 Angry Men, kind of was just, kind of affected that, and they retried him in 2017, the same, and just redid the trial over. And the jury convicted Pedro Hernandez on the 9th days of deliberation. That's a very long period of time to be deliberating. And the jury foreman remarked that the deliberations were very difficult. The jury also zeroed in on Hernandez's confession because that was really the greatest weight of evidence, because they didn't have any forensics, they didn't have any witnesses. They didn't have the remains, so you had no forensic pathology. And in the 1970s in Lower Manhattan, you didn't have the amount of surveillance cameras, traffic cameras, things that could be, enhance the collection of evidence. So the jury was, focused on this, and they sent 3 notes to the judge. The third note asked whether, if they found that Hernandez's confession before he was read his rights was not voluntary, should they disregard the later recorded confessions? And the judge came back and basically said one word: no. And that was the problem. He should have taken the time of saying that the initial confession prior to Miranda was it was continuous, and then Miranda and the two subsequent other confessions. So they returned to deliberations, and they found him guilty 7 days later. Hernandez's attorneys took this to the Second District Court of Federal Second District Court of Appeals, and while also filing a writ of habeas corpus in the New York State Court of Appeals, saying that Hernandez should not be remanded without legal grounds. And the findings of the second court was, they ruled that the instructions given to the jury were questionable. It was, poor instructions on the judge, and overturned a conviction. And they basically said that the ruled that the man convicted of murder and killing that Hernandez must get a new trial in a reasonable amount of time, and or be released from his 25-year life sentence. And basically, the Manhattan prosecutors wrote that they should not be required to proceed with a retrial, or accommodate his release without being the opportunity to argue this before the Supreme Court and seek to restore the convictions. This is where we're at, and it's kind of a political issue for the district attorney Alan Bragg in Manhattan. And Alan Bragg has been under a lot of controversy as being a very, very progressive district attorney, and not law enforcement minded, more civil liberties minded. And this is a very, very, as I said, high profile case. It was at its time led to the awareness of missing and exploited children. And now you had you found the defendant, you got the conviction, but a retrial would be very expensive, very, very hard to do for various reasons, but they can try to save the conviction by going to the Supreme Court. So once again, it's a good example of a case that was won a conviction, the only evidence being Hernandez's confession. It's a great example of how homicide investigations are never closed. There's no statute of limitations, so you continue on that, and how the appeal process works. If you cannot get your appeal done on the state level, you can go to the federal level. So, very good.